My house was a bit more like my dad would suddenly be like, "Pip, let's dance." Like, he was like, it's a very artistic kind of house. Now, as an adult who's had my own fair share of relationships, I can tell you hands down, if it's not working, don't try and glue the fragments. So when I came in, I didn't even know what to do with my hands. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to deliver dialogue. I had to learn everything on my own.
Hi and welcome to Film Companion.
Thank you for having me.
Now, there seemed a point where, at least from a film goer's point of view, you were everywhere, right? You were in Tamil cinema, Telugu cinema, you were doing the odd Hindi film, and then you kind of disappeared from the screens.
Not completely disappeared. Like, don't make it sound so morbid.
Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but then, and then now you're doing a Vijay Sethupathi film. Slowly news has trickled out that you're doing Treadstone a little early in the year, this American TV series. So what is the space you're in right now?
And music. I will be exploring into independent music in India. But the thing is, my language of communication with ease really is English as a musician, because that's what I grew up listening to. Not to say that I didn't listen to Tamil, Hindi, or I learned Hindustani music, but my expression comes through English, really. So I had realized that there were films that I was doing, some that I enjoyed being a part of, some which were just films. You know, they were part of the roster, they were part of like a building block of this perceived building that you're building, really. And I realized that that's not a building I wanted to live in, that's not the way I wanted to construct things. I don't think as an artist you can be too strategic, and I just felt like I needed to step away, reassess, reinvent, and also kind of give the time that I need to my music. This is like personal conversations my dad and I had, where he kind of told me, you're going to burn out at the rate at which you're going. And I don't think you're
but
having...
But he's a man who did 15, 16 films a year.
Of all...
On double shifts and triple shifts.
All the films that he did, except few, which, you know, we won't name, where he was like, but, you know, I think that it was a very different kind of career trajectory. It was a very different time. And also, he's a man. It's very, very different.
How so?
Because I think as a woman, the journey has been, and it's not just for me, it's something I've seen as well with other people of, I had to do all this and now I'm going to do what I want. It's kind of like the standard trajectory of the female arc, you know, whether we like it or not. I think that the roles and the characters and the opportunities are very different now, but we all go through, I mean, really, it's like we've been like a carrot put through the juice and then we rebuild ourselves from the fibers that have already been shredded, you know. And so I think that was also kind of like a journey for me, because I was doing stuff that I didn't particularly feel was representative, or people would be like, we saw you in this film and we saw you in that, why don't you do more like that? I'm like, because they're not calling me for more like that. So why aren't they calling me for more like that? You know, it was the whole kind of a self-assessment phase.
Now, when people say, oh, Kamal Haasan is doing TV and Big Boss and stuff like that, he's entered this medium after years and years and years of stardom and like building that building that you talked about and living in that building for so long. And now he's come out of that building and he's doing the other things like politics or whatever. But isn't there a danger that when you get away, that you're disappearing off the radar of some people who think that, oh, she's no longer available as a hero?
I don't have fear of FOMO. Like, I don't have FOMO, basically. I don't have fear of missing out on the rat race. I believe that if you have an intention, artistic intention, and you have a good intention, and you want to stay, not be on top and grab the chair, so to speak, you'll find a way. And I think that the lack of that calm and clarity, or confidence rather, in my own abilities was deterrent, and it actually took me away from the kind of artistic goals that I had, and took me more into perceptions of what I should be and what I should be doing for the industry, in terms of you need to act with so and so, you need to do this kind of a thing. And I realized that I'm creating a caricature of myself. When I looked at it from that perspective, then the other rules don't apply to me.
So again, to take your father's example, he spent a long time doing a lot of stuff that he didn't like, so that that stature and that permanence and that, you know, it become a fixture in the industry, and then he started doing stuff exactly the way he wanted. Don't you think putting yourself through the grind or the rat race for a while might enable something like that?
See, first of all, I'd like to say that it's kind of unfair to use dad as an example for me or anybody. I'll
Right.
tell you why. Because he has a very unique career and choices as a human being and artist. What I take from him is he has a courage, because now that it's successful, you're able to analyze and say,
Right.
oh, that was lovely,
Right.
but there was very higher chance
but
of it failing.
Right. So I was not getting into that, if he did this, why aren't you doing it? I was
No.
more like, did you consider the option?
I have done the rat race.
Right.
I have.
Yeah.
And I've done it well, touch wood. But it wasn't that level of pressure for what ultimate end.
Right.
So when I couldn't answer the question of what is the ultimate end, then I had to kind of backtrack and restart. When I've come back, the kind of films I've been offered have been really, in even the commercial space, have been like, where were you guys? Like, I've never been great at schmoozing and the strategies and what am I supposed to do to last in this business. All I know I can do is get better at what I'm doing and keep working harder.
But again, this is probably going to sound to you like an unfair question, but do you really need to have to schmooze, given
Yes.
that you come from a film family?
I think I particularly need to, because there's a preconceived notion about me before. And I'm not giving you a sob story like it's so hard to be, it's not that. I know that being so-and-so's daughter has opened doors and I'm very thankful. But I also know there are notions that are preconceived and preset, or my general resting face, which we can't say that word, but is used in a different context. And I've realized that I didn't take the time, because I've never been like that since I was in school or anything. I'd be like, if a person's genuine and they want to vibe with me, they'll totally vibe with me, but that's not how this place works.
Right.
That's what I've realized. So I make the effort now to say, I like this person's work and I'd like them to know that I'm the kind of person who likes that work even. I never even made the effort to do that. And it always came across as she's arrogant or she's disinterested. I was just socially awkward. I'm still extremely socially awkward, So I think that schmoozing skill I didn't have. I'd see other people on set and I'm like, how come they're so friendly and so chill? And I was just like, yeah, I'm ready to work, So it's been a learning experience for me. And it's been amazing, really, for me to go out of India.
Okay.
Where the Haasan name is just a surname. They're like, oh, you're from Bollywood, how exciting. Great, you dance around, and that's it. Like, all languages are one big bundle of movies to
Right.
them. In a way that was really freeing to me, because I could go to a new place and just find myself as a person and an artist again, with no preconceived notions. And then I was really able to assess my strengths and weaknesses.
Which are?
I think my strength is a certain level of clarity in how I want to portray certain intentions from within, like the subtext. But I also think at the same time, my strength is that I'm very malleable and adaptable. So it gives me a great sense of where I want to go, but I can go there anyway. Yeah.
So was the music that you did when you were in the UK, would you call that a sabbatical from cinema, or was that a new adventure?
No, it's an extension to my artistic personality. I think for people, they've known me as a singer because I started singing
Right.
first. Acting was never part of mine or anybody's agenda, I think.
Right.
And I felt like I had given cinema the rat race, so to speak, really a good 8-year run of doing 6-7 films at a time. And I found that something was missing. I was not able to put my finger on it. And it's that I was creating characters other people had written. I wasn't creating something very, ephemeral that is important for me as an artist. And that was only happening through writing my own music. But then I had a backlash of regressed memories that just came back.
Right.
Which happens, which is like the teenage Shruti or the young Shruti that had to find an outlet. And in the world of cinema and celebrity, they don't have a place for you to be that. And I think that's also why I needed to take a break,
Right.
to reassess and to address these versions that I was like, grow up now and fix it. Na parwal, I've got my shit together. You don't. So that was something I needed to do for myself as well.
But isn't cinema essentially going to be always somebody else's creation that you pour yourself into?
Yes, of course, that is. And it's fine if that's how you're wired. But if you've been given the gift of writing music autobiographically,
Right,
and you're not doing it, it's frustrating.
right.
Yeah.
So how do you intend to keep this? I'm assuming you want to keep the balance.
Of course.
Right. So how difficult is it going to be to segregate one compartment of brain and say, I'm going to be a creator in this, and I'm here, I'm going to follow somebody else's instruction?
Well, I'm schizophrenic like that in a good way. Before Mental Health Association, people get like upset. But I think I'm able to diversify that quite easily and like say that when I'm in fact, I remember just recently, I'd finished Redstone and flew directly to London and had to get into musician mode, which is a different mode completely, which is me traveling to the tube, carrying my own equipment, practicing. It's like slogging back to square one, which I love actually. Because then I feel like I'm an artist, you know. You don't feel like that when you're an actress because you have a touch-up person, whether you want the umbrella or not. It's a different energy on a movie set. And I feel like I'm able to switch roles quite easily because even in personality, I feel like I'm able to switch through moods quite easily, and that's helped me to switch the two sides. But I have to say, I think I've become a better musician since I've been an actor, because it's opened certain channels of my mind, and I'm able to now write music for different parts of my personality, which I wasn't able to do before. So I've now created a performance piece with music that involves everything that I've taken from cinema and acting.
When you say open channels, do you mean like playing certain characters
Yes.
helped you understand certain emotions better?
So no, being a part of cinema and acting has allowed me to play characters musically, because singing on stage is a performance.
Performance, right, okay.
And each song is a performance, each song is a story. Now the songs that I'm performing are autobiographical,
right,
and they're about different phases in my life. One song is about sobriety and the journey of coming out of that. Another song is about a past experience that I've had with someone, and that is not fun and it's dark. And there's another one which is hopeful. But these are three different versions of Shruti, which I don't at all feel on that day.
Right.
That day, I'm like, oh, I'm on stage, I need to do this, and I need to get my Uber after this, you know. So it is a performance piece.
Right.
And I'm able to open those channels, and now I'm able to write as characters, as
right,
alter egos, which has been so amazing for my music.
As much as everybody is formed by influences of the life that's right from childhood, let me ask you this. When did you first realize that you were not from a normal household, in the sense of that your parents are not like other parents?
I didn't feel it for the longest time. Then I saw other homes and I saw that they were slightly dull compared to mine, you know, in the sense that it was very organized and it was very... My house was a bit more like, my dad would suddenly be like, pip, let's dance. He was like, it's a very artistic kind of house. The other jobs that parents did were like 9 to 5.
Right.
They were able to do homework with their kids. I was doing homework on movie sets. So I didn't think that was abnormal at first. It's only comparatively I
right,
felt. Even then I felt like my house was a lot of fun.
There are lots of musicians who say that they became musicians because they wanted to exercise a lot of what that was inside them that they had not processed properly because they were always doing other things, but this was the first autobiographical channel that they got to fully exercise their thing. So I'm saying, do you think that had you had a normal childhood with it's a hypothetical question, but had you had a normal childhood with normal parents and who were still together and everything was peachy and everything was, do you think that journey would have been a little more difficult? Do you think that,
No.
do you think pain makes it easier to create art as well?
Pain is inevitable even if your parents are together and you're in a happy family.
Right.
Pain is a part of life. I was talking to my cellist in London the other day and we said, oh, thank God we have music, because we realized that we had certain things in our past, that music is now acting as a mother that lifts it in a sense,
right,
you know. But there's also friends I have who are from perfectly functional and normal and their parents are chartered accountants and they were like, I just want to be a musician.
Right.
And because it comes from an internal journey. how you perceive life
Right.
and how you then want to put your perception across is completely up to you.
Right. No, I didn't mean dark past, but what I meant was
Even complicated. A lot of young people in this situation who would have gone through what I did would say, the splitting up is news to other people.
not to.
It's not news to the people in the house.
Right, right.
And I was happy that they did what they did because they're both wonderful individuals
Right.
who deserved happiness in their own parameters. And they were people before they were my parents. And I've always said this. And this is something I understood very early on.
Right.
I feel that it's sad, of course. It's sad when any two people split apart. Now, as an adult who's had my own fair share of relationships, I can tell you hands down, if it's not working, don't try and glue the fragments together, because when the storm hits, it's going to fall apart. So it's better to kind of, separate. So like what seemed like a separation to the outside world,
Well,
we've kind of already prepped for it.
You said that you speak in English. I mean, like you think in English.
Sure.
That's helped your music. But how much of that was that a bit of a
Impediment.
in your film roles?
Absolutely.
Because it's like maybe there are certain zones that are really
I'm always someone who says like we're a product of globalization, especially I think people from my generation, and I feel like it makes me an interesting actor, especially globally. I would say because I'm more palatable to them in the sense that I'm not a quintessential brown girl, because I'm able to talk about influences, references, which are very familiar to them, I found myself very comfortable growing up with my friends. We were talking about, Marlon Brando is my favorite actor. I loved Buster Keaton, and, Eternal Sunshine is my favorite movie, and Kurt Cobain's like the love of my life. But when I joined the movie business, I didn't know dialogues from films of Dilip Kumar and MGR, and I was completely out of place. And the toughest role I've had to play is that of a person who's grown up in Chennai with these influences.
Right.
Because it was difficult for me. But culture is such a beautiful thing. Here I might be considered slightly Western, but culture is such a beautiful thing. It permeates and stains in the most beautiful way that in the West I'm considered beautifully Indian. Here, when the root fact is that I'm born and brought up in Chennai, I'm a Tamil girl, when it has to come out, it comes out. And that's what I find interesting about my journey, because emotion is cultureless and languageless, and that's what I've relied on.
So would you say that just like there was a westernized Shruti happening in cinema, is there an Indianized Shruti happening in the music out there? How so?
Because I've trained in Hindustani classical music, and I wanted to bring a flavor of where I'm from, but that comes out in classical singing, which to them is like, oh my God, it's so exotic,
Okay.
For us, it's like, gamaks and tals and,
Right.
And it's very easy, but for them, it's very different, And I found that I don't think I'm westernized. I think I kind of represent that in-between cross-section, It's just that I'm now understanding the strengths of it.
You talked a bit about this earlier, but there's a great Picasso quote that goes, the purpose of art is to wash the dust of daily life off ourselves. So, has your art been therapeutic?
Absolutely. I think it's cathartic as an actor and a musician. When I first started acting, I didn't even realize what I was getting into.
Right.
Luck was a film that was being made. I'd come back, I'd formed a rock band, I was touring, and Imran is a family friend and actually my Rakhi brother. And he called me and he said, there's this role. And I said, I don't act. And he's like, but think about it. And my dad is the one when I was in music school who said, I think you should be an actor. And I said, but why, Papa? He's like, you have it in you. There's something in you. It's a bit odd, but you should be an actor. And he said, the director and me can see it. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to do that. It just seemed awfully like vain, to be honest, When this thing came about, I basically needed to buy a drum kit. And I needed to move out. I wanted to have my independence. I was like, listen, can I get X amount of money? But listen to the script. I said, do you like it? Is it nice? Is it action? Oh, fun. So I get to like jump off things and all. Cool, I'll do it. That's exactly how I did my first film. And it was awful. I was awful, particularly so. And my best friend, who's also my bass player and like musician friend as well, and we've been friends since we were 3, was like, I'm going to see you after this, we need to have a chat. And I said, okay. And he said, Machan, listen, if you're doing something, do it properly, because this was awful. ஏதாவது பண்றேன்னா கரெக்டாக பண்ணு, இல்லைன்னா பண்ணாத திருப்பி. So if you're going to continue acting, it's going to be climbing up those 4,000 steps. But I know you can do it. Then either you do it properly or just like forget about it and don't do it. Nee musician ave iru. But the feeling of seeing myself on screen and being able to use this other medium, seeing my parents do it, I was like, this is powerful. Why have I not learned the art of using this? And this is so much beyond. If
Powerful how?
When you're singing, you have the audience in front of you. They leave or they listen to it, but they're not in front of you. I think cinema has the mix of having that feeling of someone performing in front of you and being immortalized in this form of a DVD or a second show or whatever. And I said, this is really great. Like, why am I not being able to understand this medium? Which sounds weird coming from Kamal and Sarika's daughter, but I didn't understand the medium, and my journey to understanding it was slow and arduous, and now I have a good relationship with it.
What was the point that you felt some kind of change happen in the understanding of the medium?
I think it happened right after that first film I did, Anaganaga in Telugu. Again, I was starting to find my feet, and I was humbling myself to saying, actually, you don't know anything about this. But I was still defensive, and I was still like, but I promise I'm like good, so there was that kind of a fear. And all through, people would ask me, are you afraid of comparison? I'll be like, no, if you want, just watch my parents' DVDs. I am my own person. But it was too much, and I couldn't admit it then. I can admit it now, but it was so much. And I felt like people were looking at me like, you don't deserve to be here, period. And I fought my way through, and now I'm enjoying it.
Right.
Before this, it was a fight. It was a constant sort of like proving, which was very detrimental to an artistic journey.
Would you say like you would get into costume and makeup and then feel really nervous? Was that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like, it was an level of anxiety I was functioning that was really unhealthy. So then I would be a kind of strange person where I didn't know how to communicate with people. All I should have said is, listen, I'm really scared and I want to do a good job. Can you help me? But then I was like, but because there was already a notion, right. I walked in with the sunglasses on, so to speak, So it's been so interesting for me to like step away and to be able to say, well, of course, like, it's okay. I'm just going to find my own rhythm in my own way.
So when you're doing the Treadstone film,
yeah.
or when you're the TV series, or when you're doing Labam with Vijay Sethupathi, who is one of our more acclaimed actors,
yes.
most acclaimed actors, how was Shruti Haasan finding?
The nerves kind of, I'll tell you when the nerves for me went away. They were there even in Anaganaga. They were there during Era Mariva. I think it happened around the same time I was doing D-Day and 3, where I worked with 2 influencers artistically who were saying, you're good at this, let's go, let's have fun, let's create something. And I was like, oh, I can. Okay, I'm a part of
Who
this
are these
team.
influencers?
So I think one on this side was Dhanush with 3. It was fun to work with an actor like that who wasn't like, she doesn't know her bit and I'm going to have, like, it was a very organic and fun growth for the character. And it showed. People loved it. And people loved that character. The same with D-Day. Nikhil, my director, was like, I'm going to let you run with this because you've understood her and you have a feminine perspective. Can you take her somewhere? मैं तुम्हें सौंप देता हूँ. Like, give it to you to take somewhere. And that responsibility actually made me work as a team player and made me do better.
So you were able to be creative.
Yeah, and a wall broke, so to speak. Like that wall, every artist has a wall they have to break. That wall broke then.
Was the wall also part of like looking back and say how Sarika would have done this or how Kamal would have done that?
I literally, didn't even know, now when I go to England and I see, I have friends who are acting who've been at drama school. Like I went to music school. There are people who may not have been to drama school or NSD or acting in India,
right.
but they've had their own version of it. They've been ADs or they've been around movies. That's nothing.
Right.
For me, I was the star's daughter who was given gems and Pepsi on the set and
right.
like "Enna saapadringa?" And I was like, "Oh, this is exciting." But I never understood the grime of it.
Yeah.
I maybe was a costume assistant on Hey Ram and I was like, I'm never being an actress, you know. I didn't know the real, I saw the superficial layer of it.
Right.
So when I came in, I didn't even know what to do with my hands. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to deliver dialogue. I had to learn everything on my own, really. And people expected me to already kind of know it, which was scary. And now I feel like I know that and I feel good.
And this knowing comes from?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you.
So I'm saying maybe the sabbatical did that.
I think so.
Yeah. So that, you know, like being away.
Changes in my life, in my person,
Right.
in my thought. Yeah, it's like love. You may have to step away to realize how much it matters. And when you come back, you do it right, if you want to keep it.
So when is Treadstone coming to our screens?
It's on Amazon. I'm just a guest role on 4 episodes and it's been very humbling and it's beautiful because I was on for 2 episodes and then they got added on. So I'm like, oh, this is good.
So would you say this is like a reboot?
Yes, definitely. Internationally, I'm a complete nobody. I'm starting from scratch. So certain days, there are days where I'm like, why am I doing this exactly? But the journey has just been so fulfilling. I'm able to redefine my life for myself. Yeah.
Would you say that what you're doing in Labam, which is a Tamil film, and you're coming back to Tamil cinema after a while, is that closer to you?
I don't want to do things that are closer to me. That would be a very complicated character to play. I wouldn't say closer to me. I think closer to the kind of characters I want to portray.
So how did they find you? Like, I mean, how did they know you were available? Because you, like you said, you've gone away for a bit, but you had still had, you were sending out feelers.
Yes.
I mean, is that what it was?
No, so when I did take the sabbatical, it wasn't, I knew I was going to come back, but there's no point saying, now okay, I'm coming, like, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So it was really the usual, okay, Shruti's back and she's interested in interesting work. It's a lot of the time I came back was people thinking, it's to say that I can manage both because it's my life and this is how I want to manage both.
Right.
So that's finally kind of seeped into people's understanding that she does come back, she will do it. The second thing is also that saying no, the art of saying no. Some people have a problem saying yes. I had a problem saying no, saying, but okay, but if I do this, it'll be good for this. It's just a flat out, like, my manager and I were saying no to like 15 projects. And I was like, okay, this is nuts. And then I was saying yes to only the things that I wanted to. They may or may not work, but I know I wanted to do them.
Part of acting is also learning from the person opposite you, right?
Yes.
What is it like interacting with a very instinctive actor like Vijay Sethupathi?
Oh, I loved it because I found also that with myself that I'm not method, I'm not like Papa, I'm not like these other people who've been to the drama center and were able to create a character. And I'm like, oh, that's not a bit of me really. I am more spontaneous. So to be with a spontaneous actor opposite is just fun. It's like playing badminton, but like intellectually. I really enjoy watching him on screen before I work with him. I feel like he's very much in the space of one of my other favorite actors, Irfan Khan, which is the very few people who you look at and say, what is? And I wish I knew this person. Like I felt like that even about, Tom Hanks say, like, oh, I really want to know this person and not the person, the character.
Right.
And that's like because of that spontaneity. So it was really, really nice working with him. He's a lovely person as well. So it's just been lovely. And the director is fantastic. He's really liberal and open-minded about women and their portrayal, particularly.
You sound surprised.
I am, because it's not easy. It's not something... Strong women, yes, but they still fit under certain parameters. There's a certain quality that I find missing even an average daily conversation, which is to say, but why not? Why? Because she's a woman? Like that ease is there in his portrayal of this character, which I like.
So would you say that right now, female actresses, and I'm saying female actors because, for the longest time in Indian cinema, whether it was Hindi or Tamil or Telugu, there was a cap. There was like very, very few actresses. Shamila Tagore may be a rare example of somebody who was still doing romantic roles after marriage. But there was, for the longest time, it meant you had a good 10-year run and then you kind of, petered out into other kind of roles. Do you think now it's changed to a level where there is really no cap at all?
I don't think so, no.
It has not happened?
No, I think it has happened.
Okay.
I mean, I'm restarting things for myself in my 10th year.
Right.
because the world has changed. First of all, there's so many people wanting the same thing. So all the timelines are changed. It's not the days of...
What is so many people wanting the same thing?
Because everyone wants to now be a part of this business. The times you are talking about was when there were few and far between people who are celebrities, who are actors. Now people from Instagram are celebrities.
Right.
There is so many people wanting that same level. If you were to classify it as something undefinable, everybody kind of wants that, right? But the thing is, artistic journeys or personal journeys are not something you can cap into a 5-year period.
Right.
And I think, not to be sexist, but men seem to have a freedom of a longer run.
But that is the
and
truth.
that has changed.
Yeah.
You know, I've always said they treat women like a carton of milk who's going to go bad, and then she's called back when she's now exquisite cheese. You know, and it's like, what about the in-between while I'm curdling it? Might be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, but that has completely changed. Look at the number of people working after marriage, and it's just I
wasn't necessarily talking about marriage as much as a certain,
I mean, that's been a big thing, no?
Right.
She now, how can we possibly fantasize about this woman who's now betrothed to this other being? You know, it's like, it's a bit like archaic or age. You see in the West that women are getting roles of substance, salt and character only past 35 to 40. Why? Because you've experienced a certain level of life to portray that. So I think things are definitely changing, and I'm really happy to be here now.
Fantastic. I hope your journey continues and you have a great years ahead.
Onward.
Onward and upward.
Onwards and upward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Hi, I'm Shruti Haasan, and you're watching me on Film Companion South. Please like, share and subscribe.